Everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to another live stream / recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, November 9th. I decided to try and start a little bit earlier, 1 o'clock Central Time. I'm thinking earlier is probably better. You know, just for maybe the daylight savings time issue alone. Like, it still doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I still feel like were I in a situation where I had hundreds upon thousands of people coming to live streams, they would want it somewhere around 3 or 4 in the evening, just because I think that's when most people get off work or school. But I don't know, I guess I have to follow the small little breadcrumbs of bits of information I can try and figure out as far as what is the best time for the most number of people. We're gonna re-roll one of those. We just did re-roll one of those. Let's see. So, 100 class cards, win 3 games with Hunter, 40 odd cost cards. Now, in all honesty, I should actually jump to the European account immediately and play that, because that's the only account I still have where I need to challenge people to get extra gold. But we'll start with this. This won't be too bad. So I made it halfway through. I guess we're gonna play Spell Hunter. I made it halfway through the Steam end of the year wishlist cleanup, or end of the year Steam wishlist cleanup for games starting with the letter T, and then I didn't run into a point where I felt like I wanted to invest another 4 or 5 hours into it on Thursday. So, like, I knew T was going to be super long, and unless I've made a horrible mistake and I find out that actually it is only going to take me an hour more to finish the second half of games that start with the letter T, I think I made the right decision. So the letters S and T will have 2 episodes. Not a big problem. It does seem like, while I may very well have every single kind of every single letter to cover, it's possible that unless I really stretch it out, games that start with like the letter Z might be pretty short episodes, which should work relatively well, because then, as this is all scheduled and working out, that would be the last few episodes would be airing December 25th, 26th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st. So the last week of the year, which for the most part is a completely dead time, and people don't tend to put out too much new content, maybe for better or for worse. Was there anything else I did? Not really. Well, yeah, just in between recording 5 hours and taking breaks every hour and a half or so in recording that 5 hours of content, yeah, nothing else really happened, and that shouldn't be super surprising. In all honesty, if I was forced to document every single 5-minute increment I spend during a day, it would be pretty pathetic. But also, I know that, and any job that would require me to document my time like that is a job where clearly the people don't trust you and are probably trying to force you into quitting. So yeah, I wouldn't do that. Oh. Of course, that's not something you also generally know to ask too. Is like, what is the level of documentation you have to do for your own time. Is somebody always constantly micromanaging you, or are you left alone? I've certainly been given job descriptions and interviews to jobs where the employer directly said, "Oh, we don't do any training. We don't manage at all. We just throw you out to the wolves." And well, they didn't say it this way, but they're like, "Yeah, we just throw you out to the wolves, and we expect you to just get it done," which sounds appealing later on in a career, once you've established that confidence and you know how a certain business does things. It's not particularly appealing at the beginning when you're being interviewed for a job, because it means they're really setting you up to fail.
Melt away.
And in general, there's an overall issue, certainly with a lot of jobs, where people don't want to invest in any training whatsoever, and they just want to hire somebody who knows exactly how everything is done at that specific business, but just magically knows that, because there's literally no way anybody who hadn't worked there before would know that. Yeah, I guess I'm getting slightly off topic at this point. Since I didn't record any extra footage this morning, I thought about doing it, but I chose to not, because I didn't want to get into a situation where I'm spending extra effort let's see.
Melt away.
Do I want to do this, or do I want to do this?
I hunt alone.
I'm gonna do this, and
Away.
then I'm gonna do this. I guess what I'm going for on this Friday stream is to get through all the news, and then hopefully get all through the daily quest too, and get those two goals overlapped relatively easily and quickly, so that I could then potentially record after the stream, which means I would want the stream to be somewhat short. So yeah, I think that's where we are. Let's see, do this, and do this, and do this, and do this. I'll just play that, and then return. Well, I'm gonna win next turn here. That is something I'm considering about too. Is that that now that I've got this new system that I put the extra effort into developing, and hopefully people like it. I kind of like it.
The light protects me.
There's a new point about just how much and when I should leave the screen, and potentially have people not really easily see a victory or loss. There certainly was at least one game last stream where I lost, and I don't even know how I lost because I wasn't paying attention. So we got a win streak. Good. We might make it back up to rank 18. While this is loading though, we'll look at this game Defense Grid, or Grid Defense, which is a tower defense game, obviously. Doesn't look incredibly horrible. $4.24. But it's a tower defense game. So, yeah, this isn't making it to the fall list. Speaking of the fall list, I think what I'm going to do is we're going to have to make special episodes just quarterly, in which we look at the fall list. There's just a little too much, I think, that's gonna happen otherwise. The fall list will just be way too big by this time next year. And it will be a slightly different experience, I think, to every 3 months or so look at the fall list and go, look, we're just looking at games that meet that 25 review threshold to see, hey, are these games that caught people's attention, or are these games that people totally ignored. Let's see. So I want to discover a secret, which will take a snipe, and then I want to see if I can track and pull this other copy here. Nope.
Job's done.
But it's still not too bad.
Truth is found.
And this is going to take a while until this starts warming up as a game, so we'll come over here. We have a game called Rock Painting Story, which looks interesting, but you kind of have to realize this is the game. This isn't just like a background. Each of these caricatures and pictures are the game. Let's see. If we skip here, we can see how it looks in motion, which is an important part to this. So it looks like it's a... I'm gonna come over here and play. It looks like to me like it's a kind of infinite runner style game, where you're just constantly going to the right with a few attack abilities. There definitely have been some games on the wish list where I've realized I was just totally suckered into the fact that it was a visually appealing looking game. But the gameplay mechanics and the story is just not there. We'll look at this developer and see if they've made something else. Of course they haven't. Rock Painting Story is 40% off for $1.79, so it's pretty low effort. They know it's not very valuable either. Says it has some puzzles. Yeah, that just does not feel like it's a... It just doesn't feel like it's a game that will actually... would be fun to play. So I'm being pretty tight here, not being very generous, because I don't want to put it on the fall list. Looking at the publisher, and the publisher's first 10 published games also look unappealing. So I'm closing that tab. Okay. This, and this. And this. I shouldn't have attacked. That sucked. That was a total mistake. Total complete mistake. We have a game on Steam called VR Interactive Trailer Runes, which I would assume is a VR interactive trailer, not an actual game. Being VR only, being free, I don't see any reason why this would make it to the fall list. Although, speaking of free games, I have made the decision that I am going to go through my wish list after I do the wish list cleanup, and I'm going to install every game that says it's free. This will, one, eliminate a lot of games from the wish list if they are free or free to play, and just have them in my library, which at that point my library is where I just pick the games I want to actually cover in a certain time period, usually over the course of a month.
Job's done.
But also it solves a problem where there might be games that are free right now that stop being free, or there might be games that have been not free before and are just on like a temporary sale, and I just happen to notice that they're free. I wouldn't say there's a lot of instances on Steam. There are some, but not a lot, where games are free for free to own or free to keep for short weekend times. But I haven't seen a lot of experiences where games are free for a year and then they get the price raised on them. Okay. How do we want to do this? Destroy a random enemy minion. Let's see. Kill this. I'm gonna play this. I'm going to play this and this. Right now my Chrome browser, by the way, is using almost 70% of 16 gigabytes of RAM. So yeah, I've got a ton of pages open, and I need to, after I close all the pages, I need to reboot my computer probably, if not just reboot Steam, not Steam, but Chrome, because yeah, that's a slight issue, or at least it seems like it's a slight issue. Maybe it actually isn't an issue at all. Just play this. Each time you play a beast this turn, add a random beast. Deal 2 shots. You can do 4 here and lose. I should have played some more spells. But there goes my win streak. There goes my bonus star. And making slight progress on playing odd cards. The other daily quest we have is playing as mage. I definitely have an odd mage deck. We could play tempo mage for a little bit of fun here, but that's really all it's going to boil down to. Yeah, and let's just keep moving. We have a game on Steam called Gravity Bone, which looks like it's possibly an asset flip adventure game, or if it is a game, I'm really struggling to see like what kind of game it is. It seems like they don't even have a video, which seems odd. It's from Blando Games. That name sounds slightly free. It's free, so let's see what else this developer may have made. Alien Zombie Smasher, Air Forte. Atom Zombie Smasher, Skin Deep, Gravity Bone, Flotilla 2, Quadrilateral Cowboy. The only one I think I'm slightly even familiar with is Quadrilateral Cowboy. Okay, well, I guess I'll put this on the follow list or just install it. Like, I think what I'll probably want to do is particularly install all the games during the Steam fall sale, Black Friday sale. Like, there's some weirdness there too, is that in general I kind of prefer to Like, I want to spend my annual budget of $300 on games. That's just to keep momentum and continue to have more and more games to play and have more of a variety. I don't want to get to the point where I'm scraping the bottom of the barrel. It'd be a very boring year if I'm having to play extremely old games, not because I want to, but because they are just the only option. But if I spend that budget, there is also this very big chance that I won't have the budget to buy a video card, which is what I would very much have liked to do. That was my hope, was to replace my GTX 970 with like a 1080. I don't think inherently there's a need to purchase a 2080 for the amount of money it's worth. I think the whole ray tracing element in particular is going to be a factor where
I'll never tell.
Job's done.
Yeah, it's going to be a factor where the next generation, whatever, so what would be called the 2180, I imagine, is how they're going to continue numbering it. Like, that would probably be the next one to start thinking about purchasing. See, I don't have... I don't have a secret. I don't think I'm going to have a secret either. I wish I did. Let's move on. Feel kind of laid back and relaxed right now. I'm not going very high energy. I like that though. Like, I kind of like when I can be laid back and I'm not going and there certainly are times when I'm recording where I'm just falling into every single verbal tick possible, and I go back and listen to myself for a few minutes and I'm like, oh man, that was awful. I wish I could learn the tricks, if there are any tricks. I think it's sometimes just some people have it and some people don't, but I wish I could learn to not ever fall onto the uhs and ums too much. We've got a story from GameIndustry.biz moving forward. Tencent undergoes marketing budget cuts as China's licensing freeze persists. The company's gaming decision is limiting speed, shifting budget away from unlicensed titles. So that now unlicensed titles as a descriptor is a unique descriptor. I would assume that means they're shifting budgets away from unlicensed titles to titles that are licenses. Oh no, wait. I was misunderstanding it. They are shifting budget away from games that have not received the license from China to be allowed to be sold in China. So basically Tencent knows what it seems pretty obvious to everybody else, that this gaming ban doesn't seem like it's gonna go away anytime soon. And pretty much all Chinese video game publishers and developers are in a really bad situation. And yeah, this is the one story. This is the story that's actual news that of 2018, and it's barely even getting covered. Like, you would think places like Giant Bomb and the Bombcast, which I'm still listening to on week-to-week basis, and I'm listening to the Beefcast too, so I'm listening to 2 of them. Like, they haven't mentioned it at all. Like, they're just not covering the news at all. And that's one source, but you know, TechRaptor's not really giving any updates. Gamasutra's not really doing any updates that much. Like, this is a much bigger deal than what people are treating it as. Let's see. The next big story, and I feel like I said something like this in the end of the year cleanup and before this was announced, and maybe this is just one of those deja vu moments where I think I remember something that didn't really happen, but I get the feeling I said Square Enix looks like it's in trouble. Because I saw reviews of Final Fantasy 15 that weren't that good. Because I know Hitman was Square Enix. I know several of the other, I think several of the other Square Enix Japanese game releases weren't very successful. I know Deus Ex, which I think is Square Enix also, wasn't that successful. So it's been kind of a running list of games that haven't been that successful, and certainly Final Fantasy VII has also been running into trouble with its development. Let's see. Just need to get a couple more damage done. So, TechRaptor has an article. Square Enix cancels 3 Final Fantasy 15 DLCs, and the director of Final Fantasy 15, Hajime H-A-J-I-M-E, Tabata, leaves the company. So, in all fairness, I think Hajime Tabata only really ruined Final Fantasy 15. I don't think he had a big hand in the development of the previous Final Fantasy games in the series. If that is me being fair. But from what I can gather from the small sources that I've seen, the problem with Final Fantasy 15 really was him changing his mind, not having a consistent vision, not having a story storyboarded and written out, not sticking to that story, wanting the elements of the game to change late in development. So his I really do put it on Hajime Tabata. So now that he's leaving the company and leaving Square Enix, which Square Enix is kind of known for being a micromanaging company, so he probably didn't like to be micromanaged, although maybe it's just that they're a micromanaging company to Western subsidiaries, and they're not very micromanaging to the other Japanese subsidiaries. In this instance, it feels like Hajime Tabata really was the one that should have been micromanaged. You know, it should have had at least somebody telling him, look, we need to lock down a story before we start developing this game. We need to lock down what gameplay mechanics are in it. Final Fantasy XV's fighting gameplay mechanic is boring and grindy. Its level designs, from what I've seen, are boring and grindy. There's kind of basically no story in Final Fantasy XV. That seems like a problem. Let's see if we can... The one DLC that is still coming out for Final 15 is called Episode Ardyn, A-R-D-Y-N. It's coming out in March in 2019, and it's a prequel set 30 years before the events of the main game, which is not good. And it becomes then slightly questionable also about when they've made promises of fixing Final Fantasy 15, whether it was on the PlayStation or the PC, when they made promises to make tweaks and add more stories. are those promises going to be held to, or were those just false promises that are now out the window? Let's see. And to go on top of the fact that Tabata has quit, the subsidiary that I think Tabata was working for, Luminous, will now be focusing on large-scale, high-quality AAA titles, which best leverage Luminous's strengths. When it was announced in March, it was reported to focus on development of new AAA titles. So the question is, are they making new Final Fantasy titles, or is Luminous doing something completely different? Keep on playing. The team at Luminous, according to TechRaptor, is comprised partially of veterans from Final Fantasy 15. However, the announcement to shift the studio's focus has reportedly incurred a $33 million loss for the company, on top of a 50% drop in profits from year to year. Also, Square Enix was the one that put out Rise of the Tomb Raider, so that explains why it went on sale, certainly. Is that they've just got, like, terrible news. And it is kind of crazy in the way that they announced this terrible news, because they did a live stream. It's almost as if Square Enix Japan thought that doing a live stream would be the place where the fewest number of people would actually see that news. Because they made like a special presentation live stream to announce all this information, when it really should have just been a boring press release. The more you put video and audio to something, the more people are likely to sit through it and see it. Had this been just a sneakily put out press release, half of the game, quote unquote, mainstream video game journalists wouldn't have bothered to even report on it until other people started reporting on it. The Comrades multiplayer expansion that is currently released as part of Final Fantasy 15 Season Pass DLC is now going to be released as a standalone on 12/12 in America and 12/13 in Japan. So that's exactly also what they did with Deus Ex Mankind Divided, where the focus was on adding this unnecessary multiplayer. And I don't know, in Deus Ex Mankind Divided it was totally unnecessary. Final Fantasy 15 allowing you to play multiplayer throughout the main story sounds like a really good idea, but it doesn't make a lot of sense if it's just a small section of the gameplay. Seems like, if I'm reading this right, people who already own the expansion pass get to keep this new standalone content. However, the season pass is going to drop in price to $15. And apparently multiplayer Comrades is only available on consoles, not for PC. So yeah, Square Enix doesn't seem like they have a consistent PC strategy. And then they're gonna do more of these crossover events that they've been doing. Yeah, I kind of wonder about the crossover events too. Was that them trying to find more money? I mean, it really does feel like, even though a lot of this can fall on Hajime Tabata driving Square Enix to potentially the brink of going bankrupt, which is where I think this might be in a year. But a lot of this has to be in the upper management too. Is just Square Enix, as in its upper management, not really making enough and budgeting enough for more tentpole games, more varied styles of tentpole games, not really focusing at all on any smaller style games, just not saving up. I think a lot of the video games companies too right now would be the perfect time to start saving your pennies and say, look, next year is going to be rough for everybody. Because that's where I think this is very well going to go, is that it's going to be very rough in 2019 if I was to guess, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to be one of the worst years in video gaming, because we're going to see a lot of companies go bankrupt, or at least a lot of companies slow down, whereas 2018 was the year of way too many games coming out. I wouldn't be surprised if it's very, very few. Hajime Tabata's last day was October 31st. So yeah. And it's important to point out that Japanese people don't just quit and leave companies and go and start their own companies. That's a very new idea for Japanese people. It is starting to happen more often, yes, particularly in the artistic realms, but if you were thinking about doing something like this 10 years ago, it would have been completely unacceptable. They would see it as total disloyalty to the company, that everybody, even if you are a high-level artistic director of a game, everybody is expected to be 100% loyal to the company and work there for their entire life. That's why in Japan, when somebody wants to get rid of an employee, because of their unions in Japan, they can't just fire them straight out for the most part. They have to give them these ridiculous time-wasting tasks where they're just working for 8 hours in a dark corner somewhere, stapling papers or removing paper clips. Very basic and generic things. And even then, most Japanese people still are not willing to quit, even if they have been assigned to these pits of despair, I guess are the best analogy. Jobs. Let's see. Just playing cards right now, I guess. Playing Hearthstone. That's all I really need to do. Alright, so we play this. And then this. And I want to play this next turn, so I'm gonna attack here. Let's see. We have a game on Steam called 3C Wonderland Coaster, which looks like it's trying to be very kid-friendly, but it's probably an asset flip in VR. If I was to guess, $6.99. Yeah, I really don't think I'm gonna put something like this on the fall list. Might be an on-rail shooter. Like, the idea of an on-rail shooter game in VR makes some sense, but this is just really bright on what looks to me like very possibly stolen art assets. Like, the idea that there's just so many walls with flat pictures on them implies to me that there's a lack of creativity going on there. Let's see. We did get some good news. Gamatsu has about 3 articles here. And I imagine these are all from the same press conference. But we'll see. Ark of Alchemist is coming to the West in the summer of 2019 for the PlayStation, both in physical and digital versions. Let's see what kind of game it is. It's an RPG, it says. I want to watch the trailer and see how that works. Deal 3 damage and wolf. From Compile Heart. Skip this trailer around. I'm seeing a post-apocalyptic desert environment with some machines and a lot of text on screen that's in English, but I'm not reading it. And then the actual characters for the game look like closer to mobile level of animation than what I would call like a standard video game RPG level of animation.
To my side.
End of turn. So yeah, Ark of Alchemists not catching my attention, particularly because it's not on PC. But yes, another Japanese game is coming out to the West, and that's always good news. I really would like to see almost 100% conversion for all games from all around the world, with some slight exception on what is on Steam and what is on something like itch.io, because I kind of do feel like Steam is designed for commercial products, and if there's a lot of games that don't meet the level of quality for a commercial product in my mind on Steam. Right. Hit that. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article. Dragon Star Varner, V-A-R-N-I-R, is coming to the West in spring of 19.
Put your faith in the light.
It's coming out for the PS4. Again, this probably was all the same announcement from the same publisher. If this is Compile Heart again, for example, yes it is. So yes, this was some kind of Compile Heart announcement. Let's see, Troll Secret. Let's see. Guess Freezing Trap. Then attack here. So yeah, I'm watching the trailer here, and it's mostly still pictures of characters. They're not moving, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is a pretty early RPG.
Mushroom power!
Or maybe it's just not animated very well, because that preview did not show any real gameplay at all. Next, let's play this. And do this. Gonna go ahead and play this and do this just for the fun of it. I'm starting to get sleepy, which I have no excuse for that. I slept in perfectly fine. Hopefully that was enough cards. We're making little bits of progress. We might make it to rank 18. Heck, if we actually make it to rank 18 so early in the month too, that means we have the ability to to work towards rank 17. And if we saw consistent progress, that would be really amazing. Really, 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 really amazing. Like, that would tell us that the app we're using to help me build more standard meta decks and try and win more often is there. And I guess that is a point that nobody ever brought up again, is that nobody has ever complained that, hey, you changed all your decks and now you're just playing what is basically the same kind of card decks that everybody else is playing, and you've stopped making weirdo crazy decks. This expansion, Boomsday in particular, was rather easy to do things like that. Let's see, and the new expansion is not here yet. I wasn't really expecting it to be. Why are all these cards marked new? There's literally no reason why any of these cards should be marked new. That glitch is still not fixed. There we go. So we'll hit done, we'll go back, we'll come back, see if any of them are marked new again. Alright. So that's the Americas account. Let's switch over to the European account. I'm just seeing on the Hearthstone launcher, or the Battle.net launcher, Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is now listed there. And I think that might be new. Okay, Gamatsu has an article. Date A Live, Rio Reincarnation is coming to the West for the PS4 and PC in the summer of 2019. Let's see if there's a trailer here. We can see what kind of thing it is. There's some screenshots and it's a visual novel. So, one more game coming to the West. This probably isn't from Compile Factory, it's actually from Idea Compile Heart, it's from Idea Factory instead. Alright, so I need to re-roll this, and it's possible what's going to happen is I will get another daily quest later on this evening, and I've just started too early. I have a pack here from something. I didn't want to open it off screen. I think it's from doing the Tavern Brawl off screen. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where it came from. Is that I had forgotten to do the Tavern Brawl. So we can go ahead and disenchant almost all of those cards. Then we can see what the new cards are according to the buggy system. There, mark all those as old. Come over here. Come over here. Set this as our new favorite, because I keep forgetting to do that. Alright, so we're looking to challenge a friend in a Warlock game. How is this guy? How far is this guy to being done? Gametsu has an article. Death End Request, that's RE:quest, launches February 19th, 2019 in North America, February 22nd in Japan. This is from Idea Factory also, which there's a trailer video. Let's watch that. See, it's tagged as an RPG. Compile Heart and Idea Factory apparently work together, so actually these might be Compile Heart / Idea Factory announcements. Death End Request, looking at this trailer, looks a lot like a JRPG. It's not turn-based fighting, and there may be a ton of grinding in these kind of RPGs, but it doesn't look too bad. It has that anime fashion and anime style to it. There's the thumbnail is of an anime girl in not a lot of clothing, and now they're starting to show some of the other anime girls, and they're in very high fashion, skimpy bits of clothing. Although the actual game, the camera zoomed out and you're looking at the backs of these characters, so except for cutscenes, which there might be quite a lot of cutscenes, you're not going to really see too much anyways. Right, so should I stay and watch this game? I think we will. We'll just stay and watch. I want to come back and just double check that this is a PlayStation 4 only game. Yeah, it seems like it is. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how these PlayStation 4 only games get received or actually released. Now that Sony PlayStation is implementing new rules. Alright, so let's come over here. Challenge standard. Okay, play Warlock, and here we go. Minecraft Educational Edition has a new update called the Code Builder update to learn coding in Minecraft. I am not 100% sure that coding in Minecraft is where you should learn it, because again, it's one of these systems where it's a visual drag and drop coding language that I'm not sure I'm 100% sold on as a way to code.
None will survive.
Now, I don't think you can just get the Minecraft Education Edition. So, I think you have to be an educator and buy the license from that way. Okay, so ideally I want another one of these and somebody that will heal. Okay. Just draw a card and keep going. We have a game on Steam called Shell that looks like CGA graphics, MS Paint graphics. I don't know if I can really call it just CGA graphics because I don't think that many people would remember. Looks like garbage. It's 84% discounted. Obviously it's not making it to the follow list. But I kind of do want to just burn through a lot of these games. Let's see.
Some corn for the
Yeah, I guess that works as well as anything would. I thought this card was a different card. I thought this was the one that lowered its cost to 0 if you'd healed the hero. Next we have a game on Steam called Tishio Q, as best as I can guess that's the name. I'm fairly certain that this game already was on my follow list. It looks like a point-and-click adventure. It says it's just an adventure, so maybe it doesn't have a mouse. If this isn't on the follow list, I'll add it to the follow list. It still doesn't have enough reviews. Some games do have enough pre-hype about them that people will play and review them very early, but most games do not. Let's see.
Your magic shall not save
Nice. So yeah, that'll stay on the fall list. Gamasutra has the same article, sales and profits down at Square Enix as console titles falter. Let's see. Consolidated net sales fell by 15% to 112.2 billion yen, approximately 990.2 million US dollars, while profits decreased by 50%, so they spent a lot more money on other things too. Because if the net sales had only fallen by 15% and everything else stayed the same, the profits should have only decreased by 15% also. Let's see. And this. Am I supposed to be playing Warlock cards? I think that's what I'm supposed to be playing. Yeah, nothing really else to say about that story though. It's just, yeah, Square Enix is having trouble. Let's see, Recast, part of one of the cores of LibRetro, now supports Atomiswave support, which I guess are
this guy's toast.
A new type of. It looks like it's probably a much newer type of arcade machine emulation. So things like Guilty Gear Asuka, Guilty Gear X, and Metal Slug 6. Those seem like pretty late arcade games, not 70s, 80s arcade games. I also retweeted the Reset Era, which seems to be pretty much a garbage forum, or kind of at best maybe a pointless forum. Was somebody on Reset Era made a forum saying that LibRetro was getting compensation from major game developers. I don't know how or why they would think that. Like, if that was the case, then they'd probably just be happy about it and come out and announce it. It would probably be a very good way to get their name out there. So it's kind of silly to think that that would be hidden. So now that part is done, we just need to play a bunch of Warlock class cards. The thing with LibRetros, they do take donations, so in theory, like, any major video game company could be donating money through donations and they just not realize it. But I guess if you don't know where your money's coming from, you're also not developing a bias towards anything. I think a lot of this comes from the theory that's coming out that's probably true, that the emulator on the PlayStation 1 Classic is just a LibRetro emulator core. That doesn't even really mean that it's a LibRetro build, though. It could be its own separate standalone thing. So yeah, baseless speculation that now needs to be reported as baseless speculation until somebody can do actual journalism and research and report. Speaking of journalism, maybe not. Defy Media, home of the YouTube superstar Smosh, is shutting down. It seems like also the Defy Media had a video game division, and at least one developer was owed royalties for like 18 months that hasn't seen and probably will never see.
As you command.
So yeah, it seems crazy. I got pointed to a video of the person who used to own Smosh and sold it, and he sold it for like $0 and stock options in the company, but the company never went public, so those stock options are worth nothing. And, I mean, it sounds like you're really, really dumb to fall for that, but apparently that's how it went. Personally speaking, I have no idea who Smosh is. I've heard of it, and I've heard of Defy Media, but only in real passing. I have like no clue what kind of content they made, or what they were, or whether it was good content or not. It does point to something certainly wrong with the YouTube system, that big developers and big production companies aren't making money and profiting from YouTube. There's definitely something wrong with the YouTube system when small developers also aren't profiting from YouTube. So basically nobody's profiting from YouTube. Even YouTube is not really profiting from YouTube. That's a problem. And I could go into a longer rant about that. From one perspective though, I think goodbye and good riddance for big YouTube content creators. Because if YouTube is ever going to get back to being what it used to be, or something, or it probably would never do that, but if YouTube's ever going to improve, it's got to be a source for new, interesting, different content. It can't be a source for the same old boring content that people have been putting on other services forever.
It's playtime.
It's
playtime. Your soul is mine.
There's a similar question certainly with YouTube I also would like to bring up is College Humor, and I'm pretty sure they have a parent company above College Humor, have started this new website that has their videos in full, and now they're just putting videos on YouTube that are short 5-minute intros, and then pushing people to this new website subscription service. Isn't that exactly disallowed at YouTube? Like, isn't it 100% not acceptable to put a video that is designed to put people to a competitor, or to a competing service or another website? And I know College Humor is huge, and they're gonna get away with it, but I mean, honestly, it would be really cool to see YouTube go, no, we're not gonna let you put these videos out. We're gonna suspend your account. This is not acceptable. You're not gonna put videos on our channel that are just commercials for your own service. But then again, a lot of people would immediately not side with YouTube even in this instance, so YouTube is probably smarter to let them get away with it. But as a person who occasionally watches College Humor content and has now seen that almost all of their content is now truncated and not as good, it sucks. I'm not happy about it. I don't want to go to their new service. In no way. If anything, what I'm probably going to do is just unsubscribe from them. Let's see. I probably after this game need to break up the recording. There's no real reason to go for like 3 hours here. It's going to be a slow, laid back well, slow laid back Friday, but that won't be too bad. We have a game on Steam here called Vampire Bloody Star X. Sounds like an interesting name. Unfortunately, it looks like it's just a particle physics asteroids clone. Looks horrible and distracting. It's $2.99 right now. Yeah, it's not making it to the wish list. I think I need to probably turn up the brightness on my monitor at some point. Let's see, I guess I could try to do that. I've got the remote on my second monitor. Let's see if I can pull that off, because I've been having trouble for the past couple of days. Just turn up the brightness. And let's see if some of these dark screenshot things I can see look any better. Actually, no, I probably need to turn up the contrast. Let's see how that looks.
In the light.
Also, need to play. Turn the contrast all the way up. Turn the brightness all the way up. Yeah, the fact that I put in bigger bulbs, brighter bulbs, may have affected some things. See what happens if I turn on the auto brightness control. It just looks worse. Let's play this. Draw a card. Keep playing. Let's see, color, temperature, computer, cool, normal, computer. I think I probably should leave it on normal. Black detail. It says off. This is not off. Backlight control on. Off. Game low latency on. Gamma. I could turn up the gamma. That might be the issue. Although maybe I should turn it down, because that might be the issue too. Like, figuring out which way to have the gamma is an issue. Let's keep playing. Interesting. It's gamma. It's 1 to 8, 2 to 4, 2 to 2, 2 to 1, 1 to 8.
Unity, precision,
and 2 to 4, 1 to 8. I think it should be 1 to 8, or 1.8. And then maybe at that point I could turn down the contrast, maybe. Nope, just blow out the picture completely. Alright, well, that's not particularly the prettiest picture I've ever seen, but it'll probably work better than what I'm doing right now.
Your magic shall not save.
Keep on playing. And of course what I just changed is only going to affect how I see it, so it's not going to affect anything you see. So we've got this game on Steam called Ansible, and it might just be an asset flip horror, survival horror game. Probably is. Yeah. It's $9.34 discounted. Guess I'll watch the video and see if there's perhaps something more to it.
Why do you call?
The problem with a lot of this issue is if I'm just guessing that it's gonna be a walking simulator or asset flip horror game, and I don't really know, I should put it on the follow list. The good news is I'm now seeing that there's a gun, and they've got like the gun in the gameplay video taking up the entire bottom half of the screen. It's totally in the wrong position. They're shooting very generic looking spider robot type creatures and zombies. Yeah, Ansible is not a good quality game, so I don't have to put it on the follow list. Alright, sell this. Draw again. Let's see. This.
It's playtime. As you command. Job done.
Next we have a game on Steam called 1111 Memories Retold, which
Reality
looks like it's a World War
woven.
II adventure, World War I adventure. This is from Bandai Namco too. Interesting that Bandai's publishing it and I just haven't heard of it. $29.99, that's pretty expensive. I'm willing to leave this game on the follow list though, because I'd like to see if perhaps it's telling more of a single player adventure game type story where so many military experiences are 100% built around first person shooting, or maybe top down tactics or flying simulators. So this sounds like an intriguing game that I'm gonna put on the follow list just to see how people like. Gamasutra has an article. The game extension platform Overwolf has nabbed $16 million in funding. Overwolf was the parent game extension developer of Hearth Arena, I believe is the name of it, which is the plugin that will tell you when you're playing in Arena just like what is the best card to pick, which one has the most value. I used it a couple times, but I just don't play in the Arena enough, and Overwolf was constantly trying to get you to log in and update, and it was just kind of a bad application in general. But yeah, all the streamers use it, like Cripperian uses it. And it's not just Hearthstone games. So it's not 100% surprising that they would get $16 million in funding. It's a little bit surprising as far as what are they going to do with that money, or what did they need that money for. And it's kind of crazy that these startup companies that are doing something slightly different are getting funding, while at the same time just a more established developers of video games are struggling to get funding or struggling to stay afloat. But moving on, Gamasutra has a different article. Streamlabs launches an app store with a $100 million developer fund. Now, is this an app store for apps for end users, or is this an app store that is going to have apps directly connected to Streamlabs? Like, that's the question, I suppose. Like, I don't feel like I would use Streamlabs too much. Maybe I would. Like, I definitely don't feel like giving 30% of any super chats, if I had super chats as an option to me. Like, I don't feel like giving that 30% to YouTube, but for the convenience, maybe I'd enable it. I'd probably enable all vectors so people could donate however they want. I was incredibly slow to make a Patreon, and nobody has been the first follower, the first supporter on that Patreon since I started it. So if I was to get into Streamlabs, I would similarly be incredibly slow. On the other hand, the good news is I am getting more subscribers, and that's really where I'd like to see growth happen, although it would be nice to see more income, or any income, come in from this channel. And Patreon is a very interesting option as far as income, because the hope is people would choose to continue to support me on a month-to-month basis, knowing my YouTube channel in particular. There's a very good chance I'm not going to disappear, because I've been doing this for 4 years pretty consistently. Moving on, Gearbox has decided to open a loot store, and they have some kind of loot box in this loot store. This seems ridiculous. Like, it seems like a complete lack of focus. Why is there a loot store from Gearbox? I guess a lot of video game companies have merchandise stores, but a loot box seems kind of crazy. Like, looking at everything that they have on sale, it's just Borderlands stuff, Duke Nukem stuff, and that might be it. Like, they actually, I'm looking here, and it seems like there's, yeah, Borderlands, Duke Nukem, and Battletech and Homeworld. They have shirts and hoodies, they have hats and bags, and they have time capsules. So they don't even have that much. When I look at the shirts section, they have like 6 shirts available. It's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, pretty crazy. Anyways, we're halfway through and pretty close to being done completely with the European account. We've gone an hour and 20 minutes, so this is a good point to break up this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game, or you can support me through Patreon. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.